They judged him. Welcome to Rise Untold, where the stories behind the spotlight come alive. It wasn't supposed to end this way. They judged him. She was supposed to rise again, supposed to prove them all wrong, supposed to finish what she started. They judged him. But something's got to give, never got to finish anything. And Marilyn Monroe never got to say goodbye. They judged him. This isn't just the story of a film left unfinished. It's the unraveling of a woman the world never truly knew. A woman adored yet deeply alone. They judged him. Loved by millions but lost in the silence between the scenes. This is Marilyn Monroe's final curtain. And this is the story that still haunts Hollywood. The year was 1962. 20th Century Fox was under pressure. Costs were rising, egos were clashing. They judged him, and their golden star, Marilyn Monroe, was seen as both their savior and their liability. She was cast in Something's Got to Give, a remake of a 1940s comedy. Light, playful, safe. But what unfolded behind the scenest was anything but. Marilyn had changed. Gone was the bubbly blonde caricature that studios crafted for the masses. What remained was a woman, 36 years old. They judged him, painfully aware that the spotlight wasn't as warm as it once was. Her health was declining. Insomnia ruled her nights. Addiction whispered to her in quiet moments. And the pressures to be perfect, to be Marilyn, had become unbearable. She was late to set. She missed shoots. The studio blamed her. The media mocked her. But no one asked why. Behind the glamour, Marilyn was drowning. Friends say she was trying to get better. Trying to prove she could still act, really act, not just pose. She had just posed for Vogue, looking radiant. They judged him. Ethereal, fragile. She had sung, "Happy Birthday," to President Kennedy in a voice that sounded both flirtatious and final. They judged him. But the world didn't see the cracks forming. They didn't see the pills, the loneliness, the therapy sessions that never quite worked. They didn't see Norma Jeane, the girl underneath it all, still looking for safety, still waiting for someone to tell Herb, "You're more than enough." They judged him. The filming of Something's Got to Give was chaotic. Marilyn missed 17 of the first 30 days. But when she did show up, something magical happened. She was luminous. In one scene, she emerged from a pool in a nude-colored bathing suit. Playful, confident, breathtaking. Photographers captured her. The public was mesmerized. For a fleeting moment, it like the old Marilyn was back. But that illusion wouldn't last. Behind closed doors, she was on the edge. The kind of edge no one dared to talk about in 1962. Fox had had enough. On June 8, 1962, they fired her. The headlines were brutal. The industry turned its back. But days later, something strange happened. They wanted her back. Dean Martin, her co-star, refused to work with anyone else. Public sympathy shifted. And Fox, desperate for a hit, was ready to renegotiate. Marilyn was rehired. A comeback was possible. And just like that, hope returned. But it came too late. On August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her home. A bottle of pills beside her bed. The final call never answered. The final script never finished. She was just 36. The film was never completed. The reels remained locked away. Only fragments survive. Scenes that feel like whispers from a ghost. Dean Martin never finished the movie. They judged him. The studio replaced Marilyn with another actress months later. But Something's Got to Give was never really about the movie. They judged him. It was about a woman trying to reclaim her identity, trying to be seen as more than just a pretty face. Trying to be enough. They judged him. Marilyn Monroe didn't die on screen. She didn't get a final monologue, or a moment to tie up her story with poetic clarity. They judged him. But her unfinished film became her final mirror. And we see more than a lost movie. They judged him. We see what happens when the world demands perfection, but refuses to offer protection. They judged him. We see a woman who smiled for everyone but had no one to hold her when the camera stopped. We see the truth behind fame's cruel glow, that even the most iconic star can burn out quietly. Today, clips from Something's Got to Give have surfaced. They show her smiling, laughing, acting, vulnerable and radiant. They are haunting, because they remind us of what could have been, of what was stolen by pressure, addiction, and silence. But maybe, just maybe, they also remind us of her courage, that even in her final days she tried to rise, She showed up. She smiled. She gave what she had left. And maybe that was her greatest performance. Not in the film, but in the fight to keep going. To be seen, not through the lens of a camera, not through the headlines that distorted her truth, but seen as she really was, a woman, a soul, a survivor. To be heard. Not just when she sang to presidents, but when she cried at night. When she whispered her fears into the emptiness of her room, they judged him. When her silence spoke louder than any performance. To be loved not for the curves she carried, not for the fantasy she became, they judged him, but for the little girl beneath the lipstick and diamonds. The girl who never stopped waiting for someone to choose her, not for fame, not for status, but just because. Because maybe the most beautiful stories in this world, the ones that stay with us, the ones we replay again and again, aren't the perfect ones, not the happily ever afters tied neatly with a bow, but the broken ones, the ones with cracks you can see through, the ones that ache and linger, because they never truly ended. And maybe Marilyn's was one of them. Maybe Something's Got to Give wasn't just a film. Maybe it was a mirror, a final reflection of a life constantly rewritten, by men, by media, by myth. And maybe it wasn't meant to be finished. Because she herself was never allowed to finish becoming who she could have been. She tried. Through every line she memorized. Through every red carpet smile. Through every sleepless night and silent morning. She tried. But Hollywood doesn't wait. It doesn't ask if you're okay. It doesn't care if your soul is crumbling. As long as the show goes on. And so she gave. Until she had nothing left. Because that's what stars do, right? They burn, until there's no more light to give. She was supposed to be the dream, the fantasy, the icon that never aged. But Marilyn wasn't a fantasy. She was real. She was the daughter who never had a father, the orphan who bounced from home to home, the girl who longed for safety and found only spotlight. She was the woman who read Rilke and Dostoevsky, who studied acting not for fame, but for truth. And yet, no one ever really looked past the gloss, past the platinum hair, past the persona, until it was too late, until she was just a headline, just a tragic ending, just another lost star in a sky that had too many. But fragments of her survived, not just in the photos, not just in the movies, but in that unfinished film, that unfinished moment, frozen in time, a scene by the pool, a glance toward the camera, a laugh that feels like it's echoing from somewhere else. It's haunting. Because you realize she was still trying to come back, still fighting for her place, still reaching toward something softer than applause. Maybe she never wanted to be worshipped. Maybe she just wanted to be held. She didn't need to be adored. She needed to be understood. But the world wasn't ready for that. They needed their Marilyn, not Norma Jeane. And in the end, that's who we lost. Not the icon. Not the poster on the wall, but the person. The one who never got to see herself grow old. Who never got to love without conditions. Who never got to speak her truth, uninterrupted. And yet, somehow, she still speaks. In the way we remember her. In the way we feel something stir when we see her smile. Not because it's glamorous, but because it's fragile. Because in that smile is a girl who survived more than we'll ever know. And maybe that's why she still matters. Not for the roles she played, but for the reality she endured. Not for how she dazzled us, but for how much she tried, even when no one saw. Maybe this was never about the final scene. Maybe this was about everything in between. The moments the camera didn't catch. The tears behind the makeup. The silence between the lines. Maybe this isn't a tragedy. Maybe it's a legacy. A reminder that even those who seem to have everything might be carrying invisible battles. A warning that fame without compassion is cruelty. And a quiet truth, that being loved for who you are is the only thing that ever really matters. So let this be her final curtain, not the one written by tabloids, not the one designed by publicists, but the one she deserved. A farewell that sees her fully, hears her deeply, and loves her completely. Even in her brokenness. Because maybe the most beautiful stories are the ones left unfinished. where the ending is unwritten, where the soul still lingers, where the light never fully goes out. This is Marilyn Monroe's final curtain, and this is Rise Untold.